is we call all of our cohorts by the number of the year that they'll graduate. So in this photo, you'll see the 80 some humans that are in LT 25. They'll be graduating in June, and this was a very sunny photo that we took in September. So if you can like remember what that felt like, see, they're like wearing no sleeves and no jackets and hats and scarves. So let's go to the next slide and we'll dive in. So our agenda today is we'll do some intros, we'll give you an overview of the program, and then we'll make sure that you'll hear from a couple of recent alum, and we'll make sure that you have a chance to ask your questions. As we go, if you have any questions along the way, or just random other things that you want to shout out and share love, feel free to use the chat, and our team will be on point to be, they'll answer the easy questions that are kind of like, here's a number, here's a fact. But for the longer questions, my friend Erin Parker will facilitate a Q&A at the end, and so you can hear real-time answers. So again, my name is Bindia. I'm the Executive Director of Leadership Tomorrow. I'm joined by some fabulous colleagues. We've got Aaron Parker, who is LT 17. He is with the King County Department of Adult and Juvenile Detention. We've got Sarah Hagan, LT 24, who works with Smartsheet. Lindsay T.H. Jackson, who is also LT24 from LTHGA Global and recently just helped step in and facilitate an amazing possibility day with us last Thursday. Thank you, Lindsay. I'm hearing such wonderful things. Seema Marie Taylor, LT23, who you're going to be hearing from in a minute. She is our flagship program consultant. And then my two team members on the LT staff, we've got Paula Moranin, who is LT97 from the last century, who's our flagship program manager, and also Megan Rudolph, who's our LT senior communications and operations manager. So again, as you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll get started. So um, LT, let me just start by saying it's a really tricky time in our country right now. And this is a moment where we feel like I feel like this real clarity of what I get to do in the world, which is really help connect, equip, and take care of our leaders. We're going to need really smart, really strong, and courageous leaders. And in these coming years. And I see LT as this space where we get to come together, we can get to know each other in a deeper way, and kind of be this place where we each as leaders grow and figure out how we want to contribute in the world. And so that's really what LT is all about. So our you can read our official mission, vision, and values, and we really aspire to be a place where people get to um, people get to try out some new things. They get to grow and learn together in community as opposed to just out there in isolation in their own organizations, but really coming together. And what I love about LT is that it's, you are with 79 other people who made this choice to try out some new things, who want to spend this time, who want to grow and learn in that community. So that's what LT is all about. And if that sounds appealing, then you get to stay. If that does not sound appealing, it's a great time to just like step away and go get yourself a cup of coffee and check on some emails. So we are really looking for 2000. We're looking for candidates who want to buy into that vision and join the 2,780 alum who've already been part of this program. So we structure the program in the following way. You'll have 10 months together, and it starts in September, ends in June. And the first thing that you do is an orientation where you'll come together and meet your classmates, kind of meet the LT team, our amazing curriculum committee, who's a set of volunteers who help guide the program each year. And you really just start building those connections. And we'll do that like in a 2-hour session in downtown Seattle. Then you have a 2-day fall retreat. It's a Friday, Saturday in September where you come together and you start to get to know each other's names, go a little deeper, think about your own learning goals and really set the tone for the year. And then each month, starting in October through June, you'll come together for a possibility day. So you come together in different places. So last week, the possibility day for March, which was arts and culture focused, was at the Northwest African American Museum. And then next month, we're going to be at the Brightwater Environmental Center, which is up in Woodinville, where we're literally going to find out where your poop goes. And then the following month, we'll be in Renton at the Puget Sound Educational Service District. So it's really about shifting and going to different places, and so just getting to see different parts of the region that you never would. During those possibility days, you'll hear from experts in the field. You'll have time for small groups. You'll have time for race-based caucusing. And you'll have time for some really fun and engaging experiential activities. You will not be sitting for hours on end and just being talked at. You will always have something that you're doing to be engaged. We have a mid-year retreat that is really focused on racial equity that happens in February, again, a Friday, Saturday, so you'll do an overnight. And then you'll also be put into leadership labs where you get to team up with a small group and really think about and work on your professional objectives and also how you connect with the community. I was just with a bunch of alum yesterday, and I have to say, like the leadership labs is where a lot of this work comes together. It's in between time. It's not a ton of time, maybe a couple hours in between the possibility days. Um, it's usually the hardest and the best part of the program. And so just a piece that we continue to evolve every year. For y'all are looking at least a few of the faces who are going to be in LT'26. So our program is about 80 people, people coming from the private sector, the nonprofit, and the public sector. And that's really core to what LT is about, that we're bringing people from across sectors who never would have met each other otherwise. Um, our cohorts are about 50% or more people of color, and the ages range from 25 to 60. We definitely had a 64-year-old in LT'24, and she was one of my favorite humans in the cohort. And I love the cross-generational aspect of LT because you really you kind of you get to ask questions of people like real like LT is this place but which I love because you get to ask a question that you might not necessarily be able to ask of other humans. Be like, can you explain how or why this happens? And there's just this like really true care that people are ready to like see that question on face value and just answer it in a real way. And so I love that multi-generational part of LT. And again, people who are living and working around the Puget Sound. So we have folks coming from Olympia up to Everett. We have somebody in from Port Townsend this year and then over to the east side. So I think with that, I'm going to hand it off to the wonderful C. Marie Taylor to tell you more about the program.
Hey y'all. What's today? Tuesday? I'm living in vortex. I don't know what day it is or what time it is, but my coffee is slamming, y'all. Just want to say it has nothing to do with LT, but my coffee is delicious. I have fresh vanilla in it. It's making me the most happy right now. And right now I have to hold on to a lot of joy. So I wanted to share with you that my coffee is delicious. All right. And fun fact, I didn't start drinking coffee till I was 35. And I'm way past 35 right now. Okay, let's talk about LT, y'all. Okay, because who cares about me and my coffee journey? What will you get from Leadership Tomorrow? How will it impact your life? Well, you'll get to hang out with me, and I'm fantastic. So that's number one why you should fill out your application is that you get to hang out with me for 9 months. And then here's some other things you're going to get. You will get to focus on your own individual leadership development. You'll get to hang out with a bunch of folks from across the sector, from across the region. You will get to know more about this region. Every time I go to a session, I learn more and more. And then you will get to hang out with folks who are really focused on purpose-driven careers, right? Where you'll get to talk about how your values show up, how your strengths show up, and what areas you have to grow and continue to talk about in terms of how it shows up for you in your career, personally and professionally. So when I think about Leadership Tomorrow, I think about how I grow as a human and then how I then bring what I learn into the workplace and into my community. So what I'm going to do is take a few minutes for each of these pillars and talk about each of them. So when we start talking about leadership development, right, we're really talking about, well, how can you take whatever skills you have right now and really expand them, right? Which is, I think, one of our calls right now is what do I have and how can I expand my learning skills? So, in terms of developing your leadership skills, you're going to have a chance every single month to hear the opinions of 70 other people, right? So, I'm going to come into the opinion about the environment one different way, and Sarah's going to come in a different way. And so, part of being a leader is listening and then figuring out, well, how does this apply to my life? How do I want to show up differently based on what I'm hearing, seeing, and experiencing? So, one of the benefits of your leadership development skills that you'll be able to really tap into is you're actually going to have 8 hours uninterrupted from work, from life, from all the things, your pets, your spouses, all the things. And for me, I feel like that's where my leadership developments really shine and I have a chance to dig into it because for 8 hours I get to hang out with other people and focus on one thing and how I'm showing up and what I want to learn. And then how I want to navigate conflict or how do I want to lead effectively within my leadership lab team or how I want to have confidence when I want to share some thoughts about whatever the topic is. So it's really this chance for you to dig into how you're showing up as a leader and then focus on it in terms of your leadership development. And then there's some practical application. We'll give you some actual tools that you can then add to your leadership development tool belt, if you will. So there'll be some practical skills that we'll give and some instructors that will come in and talk about emotional intelligence or dialectical thinking. Some practical skills we'll give you to add to your leadership tools. And then let's talk about the great humans you're going to get to hang out with, right? And the experiences. So part of the beauty of a leadership program is that you get to hang out with people from different areas, right? So you'll get to create these relationships from people outside your industry and inside your industry, right? But they still have different lived experiences and they'll be part of your network afterwards, right? And so I have formed deep friendships, I have formed business relationships, I have formed where I get my mortgage from. Like you have all these folks literally, right? Which is really important right now because the interest rate is like dumb. Um, but the thing around this cross sector piece is that you'll have access to people that you don't normally have access to, right? And so, in terms of building collaborations, it's really important that we bring in folks that you don't normally hang out with so you can learn different things from them and things about them that you can then take back to your neighborhood, to your workplace, to your community. So, in terms of this cross sector network, we intentionally build the class so that you meet people in the for profit, in the nonprofit, in the public sector, in the nonprofit sector, all the different areas, community leaders, so that you can then figure out, well, how do I want to take away the brilliant things I learned from these humans and bring them back? So that's part of our intentional building around the cross sector piece of the network. And then the next thing that I think is really important for all of us, myself included, is how do we continue to learn more about the region? So Washington's so big and so vast. So many things happening. So how do we get a deeper understanding about how each part of our community actually form the greater good? So part of Leadership Tomorrow is really focused on what are the 7 elements of a healthy community, right? So that is the environment, that is education, that's arts and culture, that is the economy. And so when we take session days to learn about the region, that's where you can go deep into learning about the environment and how we show up in terms of the work that we want to do when we care about the environment. So it's really important that we think about these elements, what we're learning and what we can take back from these conversations and the experiences, right? Like Benia said, it's really a big thing to go to a wastewater treatment and understand, well, if I don't recycle properly, this is what happens, right? This is how the future is being affected by how we show up. So it gives you this opportunity to really dive deep into what the regional challenges are and opportunities and to learn from some experts and to have an experience. And then the final piece is how do you get to grow your personal and professional network? And how do you get to show up? So part of the work around Leadership Tomorrow is based in self-reflection, where you can talk and think about, well, what are my values, how they're showing up? How do I gain clarity based on the things that I've seen, heard, and experienced? And then how do I want to then take that back into the community, which I keep stressing, but that's the biggest magic of it, right? Is that you have these experiences and then you get to figure out how you want to show up differently and then grow yourselves personally and professionally within this fantastic cohort of the 70 so odd folks, the 80 folks that are in the program. And so those are the four, I call them pillars, that we're really going to try to focus on for you all, right? Is who are the folks in these programs? How we're going to expand work across the sectors? What do I learn more about the community? And then how do I then take that back into my life personally and professionally? So that's how we're going to help you all maybe show up differently 9 months later.
All righty, now the fun part, talking about the application. So thank you all for joining us this morning. Definitely the first step to getting ready to apply is getting as much information as you can. So we're happy that you're able to find some time to join us today. As you can see on this slide, a big important date is April 7th. So if you're interested, you check out the website. It looks like something you want to lean into. We need you to apply by April 7th. That doesn't mean on April 7th. That's by April 7th. So feel free to jump in there just in case there's any technical issues, or if you have any questions, just want to give yourself as much time as possible. But after the 7th, Megan's going to email you a link to a recording of our candidate orientation. And during this orientation, we'll discuss kind of what to expect during the interview process. And we highly recommend that you take the time to watch that recording. And everyone who applies does get an interview because the interview and the application together is what is this total package of your application. And so we will be you will have a 30-minute interview with 3 members of LT Screening and Selection Committee. And those interviews take place via Zoom, and they'll happen between April 14th and May 13th. And again, everyone is going to have an interview to go along with that written application. All right. So what does LT look for in the candidate? You can see bullets there. We're looking for the commitment to community engagement, leadership in your area of influence, curiosity, openness to multiple viewpoints, willingness to work in a multiracial learning environment, engage with others who are at different stages in their learning journey, and deepen their personal role in advancing racial equity, strong interest in the curriculum. Again, check the website for all of that. Learning about what it means to be a part of LT is important. And then the reasons for wanting to participate are deeper than just networking, because that is a given. We're networking now. We're seeing names. I'm scrolling through who's here. I'm like, oh, I think I know this person. So we're always networking, but we want it to be a little deeper than that, because we know once we're done with this program, even during the program, there's going to be a call to action to get involved, and we really want you to be leaning into that piece of it. So be mindful of that. We are putting together a cohort, and so we want to be mindful of the fact that all of these things, we're looking for this in the candidate, but as Mendia said earlier, we are looking for private, nonprofit, public sector. We're kind of trying to mold this specific cohort for 26, which is going to look different than the 25 cohort. So again, please do lean into the application process, being as thorough as possible. We'll go on to the next slide. Sorry about that. So participating in Leadership Tomorrow is meaningful, very meaningful experience. One of the most impactful is when you can fully commit and engage. And before you start the application process, you want to make sure you take a look at that program schedule, because we need you to be able to make those those key dates that we talked about, the monthly challenge days, the retreats that are going to happen. We want you to be engaged in those aspects of the program. So really important to look at that program schedule before you get it, before you apply. Again, the orientation, fall retreat, mid-year retreat, all important pieces. Going on the website, you want to make sure you're looking at that flagship program overview to familiarize yourself with the curriculum and understand what's going to be expected of you. And in terms of tips to strengthening your application, as part of the application, you're going to answer 4 short essay questions. Each question has multiple parts, so you want to make sure that you're addressing every aspect of the question, and really want to be as detailed as possible. There are a number of people that are going to look at the application, the written piece. Then there's people that are going to, the 3 people that are do your Zoom interview, and they're going to put a score together to give your final score of your application. And so it's important that your application is as strong as possible and your interview is as strong as possible, so that group can put together a good total for you as we select the cohort. And we encourage you to be open and authentic in your essays. A key part of LT's value is vulnerability and openness, and we'd love to see that through the application and the interview process. And the screening and selection committee isn't looking for answers they agree with. We want to get to know you, so please be as vulnerable and open as possible as you complete the application. Again, don't wait to the last minute. The application deadline is April 7th. That does not mean you should go in there April 7th. Every single year, it's always something that comes up. Your computer crashes. For some reason, the system on our end could be an issue. But we want you to get in there as soon as possible, giving yourself as much time as possible to complete that application. We can move on to the next. All right, now cash, tuition, financial aid. So tuition is $6,000 for the year. Financial aid and payment plans are available. Again, we want you to apply online by April 7th, hopefully before. There is an application fee, but that $100 application fee, if that is a barrier, we are offering assistance to that, but your household income will need to be below $115,000. And for that, you will email Megan to get that assistance for the application fee. And again, everybody who applies gets an interview. We want to see the full you, and so we want to give you some space to take some time to have some thoughtful responses to some questions, those essay questions, and then we're going to also have the interview, and those scores are combined to give you your total score again. Just making sure that's clear. Everyone will have an interview, and no one is screened out based on their application. So don't feel like because you're in need of financial aid that you're put onto another short list. Everyone, financial aid really isn't discussed until after we have selected that the cohort. I think that's that on tuition. All right, now it's the good part. We get to hear from some recent graduates and people that have participated in the program. I'm from LT'17, and the great thing about LT is always changing and evolving, growing, looks different. So they take feedback very well. But today we have 2 great alumni with us, Sarah and Lindsay. Well, I will pass it to Sarah, who will share some of her experience with you, and then we'll go to Lindsay after that. Sarah?
Thanks, Aaron. Hi, I am Dr. Sarah Hagan. I lead an HR team at a tech company called Smartsheet. And being in the HR space, I was really hesitant about leadership tomorrow when it was originally brought up to me. And I think it was because I have done so many leadership trainings. I have led leadership trainings. I lead them every year. And so I was a little hesitant because I thought, like, what am I gonna learn from this that's any different? And I'm delighted to say I trusted the person. She is a current board member. Her name is Amelia Ransom. If you know Amelia, she can convince anybody to do anything with her excited attitude about basically life. And she said, like, I think you just need to trust me. I think you're really going to like it. And so I said, okay, ma'am, you say jump. I say how many times, how high, when. So I applied to LT, and I only have experience with my group. So I will say I'm speaking from the cohort and my experience. But I think that three things really stood out for me that was maybe different from the typical like networking slash leadership training that I had previously done. The first was the sheer amount of community stewardship that the entire cohort had. You are around 79 other people who are excited about the possibility of the greater Seattle area and wanting to lead and make change in really positive ways, all from their own perspectives. So that was incredibly cool. And I think, particularly coming out of COVID and people finally coming back together, I applied early 2023 to be the cohort for fall of 2023 and then spring of 2024. And so I think people were just kind of like slowly returning back to the office in Seattle. And so really kind of trying to get back out there and trying to figure out what does that look like. And then being around people who also, I think, were in that same stage of life slash excitement about the possibility of the region was really moving. I think one of the other things I really liked that fits with LT's values is just the curiosity and humility that every individual had. It was fascinating to listen to different people's perspectives after hearing the exact same person speak. And I distinctly remember being at a table and like glowingly reviewing this woman that we heard in this nonprofit and like, oh, what a great solution to a problem. And then having someone at the same table hear the same person talk and say, wow, I had a completely different perspective from that talk. And just getting to hear her perspective and my perspective, and then listening to other people ask questions about our perspective was really eye opening, particularly because we had completely opposite experiences of the same person who, I mean, and it wasn't about anything, particularly uh like it was about something relatively innocuous. But it was just like a nice reminder. And the way that we all showed up to that conversation was with curiosity. Tell me more about. Interesting, because I heard this perspective, and really just leaning into the complexity of problems and different perspectives based on what people's backgrounds are was just really fascinating. I think the third piece that I have loved the most is belonging. I thought it would feel more like networking, but it feels more like friends. The people who I have met through LT, I get to go, support their nonprofits if they're an executive director, or I get to go to a town hall and listen to them speak, or I get to pass on a resume for somebody because they're looking for a role and my company has an opening, or I know a company that has an opening. I'm going to coffee with two of my cohort members on Friday. I just really appreciate the friendships and the connection that I have gotten through LT that feel deep and meaningful and not just surface level. And I think I was nervous about that. But one of the cool things about LT, and I'm assuming that they still do it, they did in the past, is that you get randomly assigned a table when you show up to these possibility days. So you don't know who you're going to sit by, and like you generally know who's in your cohort, and you get to know people, but you aren't always like there's no clicks because you're not always sitting with your BFFs, right? You're meeting new people, you're hearing new perspectives, and we actually switched twice during the day. So like you would sit in the morning and then at lunch too. So you just got this the opportunity to chat with a whole ton of people, and that is also outside of any other activity you may do, like that really cool tour at Brightwater Waste Treatment Plant. So I just really appreciated the perspectives, the cohort, and then the friends that I made and continue to cultivate that LT really helped me have.
Thank you so much, Sarah. We will go on on to Lindsay, but please do be sure to drop in any questions you may have, anything you want to make sure we touch on before we wrap up today. We still have, some time, but I just want to make sure I'm reminding you. Lindsay, you ready?
I am ready. And I
Great.
think what I'm aware of in this moment is being reminded how different we all are as leaders. Dr. Hagen strikes me as someone who always comes prepared to do something. And I'm like, Megan told me to be here at 9 a.m. I don't know what we're doing, but okay. And I'm always like that. I didn't read the book that we were supposed to do in LT. I did hand in my application pretty much at the last minute, and then something did crash. And I was like, Megan, I did submit it. I did. Please let me through this gateway. And so I say that to say that it really is a diverse group of people. I am probably not the shining example of everything that they are asking you to be this morning. And yet they let this little bitch in. So don't let that be the barrier that keeps you from moving forward. I will say, though, that if there's one thing that I think is important as you consider going on this journey, embarking on this journey, is that I'm going to use this as an analogy and a metaphor, whichever one it is, if you have been accustomed to showing up to these types of experiences the way I'm seeing right now, right? No screen on, just names on on a prompter, and you're thinking that is going to be acceptable within the LT experience, that is something I would ask you to really pause to consider, because this experience at its most true and beautiful essence is an opportunity to break through one's character of yourself that you think is your professional identity, and actually demand, nurture, foster the opportunity to connect with other individuals in our community at a deep level and in a professional level, which we can get into another conversation that those two should never be disconnected. And yet, many people go about their careers thinking that they are disconnected. And so, Leadership Tomorrow, in my experience, I thought it was a cult when people were telling me about it. I was pretty sure I was going to have to, because, I'm from the Northeast. Pacific Northwest is pretty culty. You've got a lot of cults here. We can study it later. Yen gets it, right? But this is an opportunity to supersede that feeling of listlessness that so many people are experiencing, that feeling of loneliness that so many people are experiencing, that feeling of flailing out in the wild, wondering, what the fuck am I actually doing in my career, in my life, in my relationships, in my parenting, and come together with other individuals who are contemplating that same question in a million similar and different nuanced ways. And then collectively figure out, how do we channel that energy into something that is better than our individual parts and collectively good for this moment that we are existing within. And so that would be my offering. If you are wanting to go into the LT experience just a blank screen with a name, I think there are other programs that might be better suited for you. If you are wanting to be fully embodied and present and open to something far greater than that, then this is the experience for you. Megan, did I do it right? I didn't prepare any notes.
You did. Thank you, Lindsay.
Okay.
You made me laugh too. Thank you. Aaron, you ready?
Yeah, sorry, someone came to my door. The whole jobs, people they expect you to work. Don't they know I'm doing LT stuff?
So rude.
Right. Yes, so thank you so much, Sarah and Lindsay, for sharing your experience as recent participants in the program. We're now going to move to our Q&A. Again, you can drop those questions in the chat. Also, feel free to raise your hand and we'll call on you. Unmute yourself, you know, we're relaxed here. Let's see, I think I'm gonna start with this question about beneficial for individuals across various duration of professional experiences. Um, I guess for me, I have, when I went in 2017, I was in a leadership role at a community behavioral health organization, running the mental health side of a methadone clinic. And I, young in my career, and so I say that it was very beneficial for me, to someone that's younger in their career but in this big leadership role, connecting with people that have been in leadership roles for a number of years, and also with others who are new in big leadership roles, to go through this program. I think the good part about LT is that the way that they do the curriculum is like everyone is coming to the challenge day with the same foundation, so that pre-work is important, because you have these varying positions that people have been in, and also like time in terms of being in leadership. And so it's doing that pre-work that gives us the same foundation to then have these conversations, with the same shared kind of language. And so I think it's beneficial. It's always beneficial to me to, be able to tap into those that are more seasoned, but also sometimes it's beneficial for them to hear from someone like me who's like young, or I think I'm young, and kind of fresh in this new like leadership thing, and be able to tap into that. So I think it was a great experience to have that spread. And because LT is so intentional about making a good cohort, you end up having a great experience, whether you are fresh in your new leadership role, whether you're seeking to be in a leadership role, or you've been in leadership for a number of years. So I think it was a good experience for me. Sorry. Oh, I see Marie, you were